Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up tonight on Our News, Jubilee Gardens residents shaken by tornado activity. A man accused of attempted child stealing faces an additional charge. And why the daughter of the country's first prime minister says she doesn't expect to appear on the PLP's ticket this election. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm KRISTINA DRAGOVICH. Topping news tonight, residents of Jubilee Gardens got quite the scare today as a tornado touched down in their neighborhood. Some residents reported roof damage during the swirling wind, which also caused some homes to shake. Julian Gray has the story.
Lightning, thunder, and a little bit of rain is not enough to scare many people, but throw in a tornado and, well, that's a different story. And that's what many Jubilee Gardens residents experienced today as they say a whirlwind touchdown like none other.
Miss, I was shaking right off. I was so scared because all the time all me and my family was in the house and no one got to come out the room because of the wind, trapped them in the room.
I was scared for my life and I was crying really hard.
9-year-old Jaden Anderson said when the winds began to howl and the house began to shake, she was frozen with fear as she's never seen a tornado before.
It was shaking and when we looked, it was like through this door we could see like everything flying and stuff. And then when my brother started to run, I ran, and then when he looked like at his eyes going like this, I got scared and I started crying. And I look back and I keep telling them, hurry, open the door, but the wind was holding it back.
A weather system is currently stationary over the Bahamas, and according to meteorologist Greg Thompson, it's not uncommon for tornadoes to touch down. Roofs were torn, curtains were pulled from their hinges, and leaves were stripped from trees and scattered across the ground. This Bahamian flag, still flailing in the wind, was shredded by the tornado.
All the curtains here and the piece of the roof ceiling, that was off, and all the talking about and leaves all over the floor.
It was breezing, had a loud sound, really loud, like a big heavy truck. And when I tried to go to the window, I thought the windows was going to flash in my face, like break up in my face, but one or two of the windows drop out. And all you saw was tails just flying in the wind, just picking up and going with it.
Despite the damage, these residents say they are thankful that no lives were lost. Storr, who has lived in the neighborhood for many years, said this isn't the first time this has happened.
This is my second time from 2005. That was 2 years ago. Me and my neighbor across the way, we were standing outside and we saw it coming. But it was a little small mine and little small major little thing. And it stopped like 3 houses down.
Venley was outside washing his car when the winds picked up. He said it was his family he thought about first when he saw the tornado coming toward them.
And I even run leave my phone. I take off. I run the house because I got a little baby in there. I say, have it in the bed, on the bed. And I look out, and afterward, just passed right through, and that was it.
While these residents may not have known what caused the disturbance, they say it's something they never want to experience again.
I got a feeling this is a warning for this area, and the people should take heed.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, disgraceful is how Progressive Liberal Party Deputy Leader Chester Cooper described the government's plans to now implement public-private partnerships to complete works on airports on several family islands. Cooper says the government's move to cut funding now causes a delay, which he feels is unfair to those family island residents who've been looking forward to more opportunities. Kyle Joaquin has more.
I think it's disgraceful. That we have projects that's shovel-ready, that's good for the economy, but are being delayed by the Prime Minister at this time.
Cooper says the Prime Minister has clearly gone into campaign mode, making announcements only for likes on social media. This after the Prime Minister yesterday announced that government has cut funding for planned upgrades to airports on Exuma, Long Island, North Eleuthera, and Abaco, and is instead seeking to implement a PPP program to complete the projects. The PLP deputy leader called it a disgrace, seeing that money has already been secured, particularly for the airport in Georgetown, Exuma.
The Prime Minister ought to be getting on with the low-hanging fruit, like developing infrastructure projects in Exuma, North Eleuthera, that's already funded, rather than blue skying for campaign points.
There was also the Prime Minister's promise of a sovereign wealth fund, an implementation he says government is fast-tracking. Cooper said as legislation regarding a sovereign wealth fund has been around for years, it's interesting that the topic seemed to somehow come up out of the blue amid increased pressure from protesters.
Prime Minister is looking for likes on social media. This has been a plan that's been laid in the works for quite some time. What I'm saying is, in effect, he is pandering to the Bahamian people to try to make believe that he is doing something to impact the economic recovery, which is immediately needed and required.
Cooper pointed to the Prime Minister's New Year's address delivered just a few days ago, where he said Minnis painted a picture of economic prosperity for the country, only to come days later and announce further cuts. He once again called on a financial plan for the way forward.
The Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance must be truthful in his utterances. This will help to inspire confidence and trust in the economy and help to speed up the economic recovery.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
In other news, a Grand Bahama man was charged with another count of attempted child stealing today. Jared Higgs has that.
24-year-old Justin Seymour of number 10 Wrexham Drive, Arden Forest, was arraigned today before Deputy Chief Magistrate Debbie Ferguson on a single count of attempted child stealing. He was not required to enter a plea, and the matter was adjourned to May 13th for trial. It wasn't Seymour's first time facing charges of this nature, though. On Tuesday, Seymour was charged with 2 counts of attempted child stealing. Those incidents allege that Seymour attempted to steal a 9-year-old child at the Walter Parker Primary School on January 6th and an 8-year-old from the Maurice Moore Primary School on January 7th. Police say this third charge also involves an 8-year-old and stems from an incident that also took place at the Walter Parker Primary School. It was reported to police on January 8th. At his first arraignment before Magistrate LaQuay Lang, Seymour was granted bail in the amount of $20,000 on each count. He was also ordered to wear an electronic monitoring bracelet on his ankle and was given reporting requirements 3 times per week at Central Police Station. But today, bail was denied and the 24-year-old was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until trial. He will return to court on May 13th. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Well, despite offering herself as a possible candidate for the South Andros constituency in the next election, the daughter of a former prime minister doesn't believe she'll be given the opportunity to run. Giorgio Bain tells us more.
Bonnie Pinling, who is the daughter of the late former Prime Minister Sir Lyndon Pinling and former Governor General Dame Marguerite Pinling, admitting that she doesn't think that the Progressive Liberal Party will grant her the nomination for the South Andros seat in the next election. Pinling says in her travels to South Andros, she has been asked by the residents to consider running for the seat because they need her help. However, she believes the party will stick with the incumbent, Picewell Forbes.
I'm not going to get the nomination. I never really thought that I would, but at least I got to do this. I mean, I woke up, everything, I kind of stirred all of the dead bones, and I kind of made a few people angry. But guess what? I got to, spark some interest. You said, come on your show. I get to talk about things that I think we need to talk about as a country, a nation, and a people.
Some have questioned Pinling's quest for the particular nomination, as PLP MP Picewell Forbes has been the Member of Parliament for South Andros since 2007. In November, PLP leader Philip Brave Davis said it would take an egregious act to prevent incumbent PLP MPs from being renominated for their constituencies in the next general election. Despite her goals for South Andros, including expanding the bone fishing industry, developing a solar panel field, and adding a ferry system for South Androsians, Pinling says she is often asked a troubling question of why she would want to run for office.
Why don't you ask other families? We have other political families in the arena. Simonettes, Turnquests, Butlers, folks, Maynard Hanna. No one ever asked that question to them. So why ask me? Why am I different from them? Why are the rules different from me than anybody else?
Pinling said she believes that Bahamians are tired of voting between the Free National Movement and the PLP because of the broken promises, but insisted that it's not the parties, but the persons in the party.
The F&M and the PLP are brands. They're institutions. They have philosophies of their own. They stand for something. They mean something. It's the individuals that go into these institutions with whatever agenda in their head. They decide the course that that institution is going to take. And then with the different personalities that you get, it changes the brand.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgie Bain.
And the Ministry of Education has set a February 1st target date for public school students to return to the classroom. However, the Education Minister is insisting certain safety protocols must be put in place first. Bethany McDermott reports.
Weeks before public school students are set to resume face-to-face learning, Education Minister Jeff Lloyd admitted today that they're still working through the specifics. According to Lloyd, officials are still awaiting the all-clear from the Ministry of Health.
Our target is February the 1st, and we would certainly like to be able to do so. And we are hoping that when we do meet with the ministry sometime next week, the week of the 17th, 18th, they would be able to give us more information as to what is possible and not possible.
Lloyd explained that the plan is to use a blended model. He added that this will only apply to students on New Providence, Abaco, Eleuthera, and Exuma. Back in December, the Education Minister announced that schools on New Providence and Abaco could reopen as soon as February or March. Here's what he expects before that happens.
What we also have to be concerned about is what happens if someone presents with symptoms. What are the protocols? Do we have the facilities in place to accommodate those persons and to respond? So as much as it is, yes, these are facilities, masks and so on, that also must be in place. And if a person presents with certain indications that we consider to be worrisome, do we have the access to the health facilities?
Last week, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson said teachers were still struggling to access the ministry's learning management system. Lloyd said those issues are still being worked out.
These issues are going to rise from time to time because it is new for many persons, one, and also we are talking about a demand on the system that the system has not had in any time in its history.
Now, the union also called on the ministry to intensify training sessions for teachers using the learning platform. To that, the minister said training sessions are ongoing.
We have adapted and adjusted our training to meet the various needs of our teachers and educators and all staff, and that will continue.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Well, a few showers around New Providence today. Is there more rain ahead? Here's Greg Thompson in the weather studio.
Thanks, Christina. In our first look at weather, we take a look at conditions outside our studios. Active weather pattern outside. Current conditions, temperatures in the low 70s, 74 is at current temperature outside our studios under partly to mostly cloudy skies. We have some showers, maybe even a little rumble of thunder out there. Winds are out of the southeast at 6 knots, feels like temperature 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Satellite view, a stationary front parked across the northwest and central Bahamas, generating quite a bit of activity across our area. We had some isolated thunderstorms and some waterspouts reported earlier. Conditions will continue throughout the rest of the evening. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
When our news comes back from the break, the future of renewable energy in the Bahamas. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a significant backlog, with criminal jury trials adding to the already lengthy list of stalled cases, according to Chief Justice Brian Moree. Speaking to our Jasmine Brown in an exclusive interview, Moree reveals that a plan is in motion to tackle the issue. Jasmine Brown reports.
With court proceedings interrupted over the last 10 months, Chief Justice Brian Moree, QC, says criminal jury trials have been the main contributors to the backlog. But he says the judiciary is working its way through the cases that have been disrupted since March through the implementation of a backlog reduction strategy.
What I intend to do is to identify what I call the backlog inventory. That is to say, all criminal trials which were displaced since, I think it was the 17th of March, until now, and we're going to segregate those cases and put them in a specific category, and then I'm going to appoint judicial resources to simply deal with that backlog. while we have other judges working on the current calendar.
In March, just days after the Bahamas recorded its first case of COVID-19, the CJ announced that the global COVID-19 crisis had prompted sweeping changes for the judiciary. Among the changes was the suspension of new jury trials in the Supreme Court. At the time, Sir Brian warned that the move could no doubt add to the backlog.
There has been a significant backlog of criminal jury trials as a result of the pandemic. We were not conducting criminal jury trials for many, many months. And I might say that was the case in courts around the world.
The CJ added that a key part of the strategy is getting more judges to handle the backed-up cases.
The backlog reduction strategy is a discrete program which I have been working on with my colleagues. That is going to require additional judicial manpower in order to address these trials. In other words, we're going to need a number of additional judges. So we don't want to compound the backlog by taking away my judges from dealing with the current calendar and put them on the backlog calendar, because all that's going to do is allow us to reduce the historical backlog, but it's going to add to a new backlog.
He said those special set of judges will work on the cases that were slated to be held between March 2020 and January 2021. The goal is to have those matters heard within 9 months. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, a 35-year-old woman was accused of stealing from her former employers at Solomon's Fresh Market, Old Fort Bay. It is alleged that Esther Joseph, seen in the black hooded sweater, falsified the accounts of the food store on 2 occasions by omitting to make full entries on the end-of-shift balance sheets. It is further alleged that the former front-end manager stole a total of $1,331.35 by reason of her employment at the store. The incidents allegedly took place in March 2020. She pleaded not guilty to the charges and was granted $2,000 bail. She will return to court on June 16th for trial. Well, Bahamas Power and Light is looking to generate 15% of the country's electricity needs through renewable energy sources by 2025 and 30% by 2030. Those target dates set by BPL Chairman Dr. Donovan Moxey. Speaking at the Bahamas Business Outlook 2021, Moxey says the utilities company is already working toward meeting that goal.
One of the things that we're looking to do toward the goal of 30% renewable energy by 2030 is by Q4 of 2025, we're hoping to have 15% of our generation throughout the entire country from solar or renewable energy sources.
Increased use of renewable energy is one of the big 5 items that BPL is targeting. Towards that end, Moxey says BPL is close to deciding on a vendor for distributed battery technology, which is a key factor in moving forward with the implementation of solar energy.
This particular project initiative will really help us with solar implementation. One of the things that we found out when we came in as a board is BPL's grid is not as stable as we would like it to be. And when you talk about putting in large amounts of solar power, when you talk about rooftop solar, when you talk about having unstable injection generation within the grid, you need to be able to stabilize your grid so that you don't have cascading faults. In order to do this, you need to implement what we call distributed battery technology.
Still to come, more than 200 electronic devices donated to students on 2 islands. And later in college basketball, Ole Miss hits a rough stretch. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. Citibank Bahamas donating $45,000 to the International Organization for Migration, making way for the donation of some 200 tablets and 5 laptops for public school students. Education Minister Jeff Lloyd says this is just another step in the ministry's goal of giving a tablet to every public school student.
This is a magnanimous hurdle that we have to overcome.
because our estimate at the very beginning of this was anywhere from 15 to 25% of our students who would not have a device or would not have access to internet or both. And today, we are happy to announce that we are just about there for those public school students.
Officials from the IOM and Citibank expressed hope that this donation would greatly benefit Bahamian students.
It is an honor to be standing here with you today to announce this donation, which will facilitate the continuation of learning of our youth. Through this, we reaffirm Citi's commitment to support economic growth and development in the Bahamas.
These devices, all of them, they will benefit the children of the Bahamas and also the migrant children. Some group that is, of course, also very important for an organization with migration in its name.
Meanwhile, students displaced following Hurricane Dorian receiving tablets from the Grand Bahama Port Authority. The 43 tablets will go to students of Jack Hayward Junior and Senior High Schools, Sister Mary Patricia Junior High School, and St. George's High School, who need it most. See school representatives thanking the Port Authority for helping to support education.
Our school is on a hybrid system. Because of health and safety protocol, we only allow 20 students per room. And so students are on a hybrid system. They're in face-to-face and virtual. The tablets, the devices will give them access to continue their learning.
As the former principal of the East End Junior High School, I am certain that our students who are now here in Freeport attending school will feel blessed that they have received these gifts, and I'm sure they will be overjoyed for the expression of love.
Principal Joyanne Pennerman has 25 students from East End enrolled in her school and says they've been offering counseling to ensure they transition well.
They're doing well. And we have a support system. You know, we have the guidance counselors that work closely with them. So they've assisted them tremendously with the transition.
Tonight in sports, Bahamian-led Ole Miss hitting a bit of a rough stretch in women's college basketball. Marcellus Hall has more.
Hi, thanks a lot. Welcome to Sports Friday, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. It's been a bit of a weird season for the Ole Miss Lady Rebels. After getting off to a hot start, they had a couple of players test positive for COVID-19. Ever since then, wins have been hard to come by. Last night, taking on Mizzou. Let's see how it all turned out. Coach Roulette McPhee-McEwen and the Ole Miss Lady Rebels back on the floor last night. Ole Miss finally getting most of his roster back after being out with COVID-19 issues, playing Mizzou. This one would be an interesting ball game. Ole Miss got down early and had to fight their way back. That would pay a big plus down the stretch, as they were simply unable to get all the way back into this game. They end up losing 86-77. Ole Miss has now lost 3 of their last 4 games, falling to 7-3 on the season. Tough break, but Coach Yo feeling pretty good about her team and what's ahead.
Dug ourselves a really deep hole in the first quarter. Just had to really fight hard to come back, and did not have the energy to do so, to finish it out in key moments. We have to learn, and we have to keep getting better. We're a young team. I got full confidence in the group. They're learning how physical the SEC is. They're learning that no one is going to give it to us, and they're learning that every night that they have to fight.
To the NFL, where lots of games on the agenda for you. The divisional round set to take place this coming Saturday and Sunday. Taking a look at what's ahead for you on Saturday. Rams will play the Packers in the first game. That starts at 4:35 in the afternoon. That'll be followed by the Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills. Games continue on Sunday as the Browns take on the Chiefs there. Interesting matchup here because the Browns and Chiefs have both got an interesting rivalry down the stretch, so we'll see whether or not that plays out for Baker Mayfield going up against the defending champions. And, of course, the late game on Sunday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the New Orleans Saints. Both teams featuring 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks. One of them will have to go home. The other will move on to a chance at another Super Bowl. All right, so that's your check on sports. Of course, we'll give you all the details from this weekend's football games coming up for you first thing on Monday. Back to you.
Greg Thompson has the weekend weather outlook ahead and how one DJ spun his way to success during the pandemic. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. We're expecting a cold front to move in, but when will those temperatures dip? Here's Greg back in the weather studio.
Thanks again, Christina. Very active pattern outside our studios and across the region. Cold front across the northwest Bahamas, actually stationary at this time, generating some activity across the northwest Bahamas and the central Bahamas. Some isolated showers and thunderstorms. We had some reports of some water spout, even a possible tornado touchdown in the capital. But that system will continue to be with us. We are expecting another frontal boundary in the Gulf of Mexico to get in here sometime tomorrow. That should usher in a nice change for our weather for next week. Boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. The winds will start off southeast to south, but switching south to southwest at 15 to 20 knots tomorrow, 4 to 6 foot seas. While a southeast to southerly flow continues across the southeast Bahamas seas, 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. High tide will be at 9:39 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Wednesday. A cool weather pattern expected for the weekend. Do make it a safe one. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Well, a popular DJ is opening up about the highs and lows of being an entertainer during the pandemic. DJ Overdose was recognized by the Office of the Prime Minister as a hero in the fight against COVID-19, provoking mixed reactions from Bahamians. Jared Higgs has more.
Yo, Overdose.
He's a rising star in Bahamian entertainment. DJ Overdose got his start at the tender age of 12. His passion for music led him to start an online radio channel that took off locally.
And then, it just triggered from there. I met up with a lot of international people that came to the Bahamas, networked with the right people. And after that, it just blew up from there.
Some initially criticized his appearance, and he admits that he was sometimes discouraged by older professionals.
And they had a bad taste with a lot of younger DJs because of egos.
But Overdose says he never let the discouraging moments get to him. He says it was that mentality that prepared him for the past year when the pandemic had a major impact on the entertainment industry. A moment that was challenging for many turned out to be a blessing for the young entertainer. With everybody indoors and online, he went back to online radio.
We then created the fact that, we could bring on sponsors. We could help other DJs propel themselves and build another following on this platform. Invite my international friends and links that I have and show people that, hey, over the course of the years, I've made some friends.
Overdose has since moved to Miami, where he says there are better opportunities for entertainers.
Respectfully, I abide by whatever protocols are going on. I wear my mask. I'll go out and I social distance. But then again, I have to make a living.
Overdose says he gets tested for COVID-19 twice per week as well. And even though he's away from home more these days, he says he takes the country with him everywhere he goes.
I still carry the flag high when I'm traveling. So I love the Bahamas. I love my hometown.
44 Hour News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm KRISTINA DRAGOVICH. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night for our news weekend. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.